welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to take you through a few apps that helped me when I started running. There are plenty of apps out there, but it's hard to know which one is the right one for you. So today I'm going to take you through 4 apps that I used when I started getting into running a couple of years ago and just see how they stack up and whether they take your fancy. But a few of the apps that I'm not going to go through today are Couch to 5k, Runkeeper, I think there's like Mondo Run. There's loads and loads and loads of apps out there basically. And these are just a few that I used personally so I know kind of what's good about them and what's bad about them. I've got 2 that are a little bit more basic and then 2 that are a little bit more advanced, but there's no saying that you can't have all of them and just start with all of them. Honestly, I think they all kind of work together to give you a little bit extra as to what you're looking for. So the first one I'm going to go through is probably one of the first apps that I used to start running, and that was the Fitbit app. And honestly, it's more of a health tracker than it is a run tracker. So it's kind of designed to just look at how active you are over the day and things like that. It can be used without a Fitbit. So you don't need the Fitbit app in order to start using it. You can just use kind of like your phone's GPS and like its accelerometer to track your steps, etc. And I found that the best thing about that was that it on this kind of basic friendly level that just felt really good. So you'd get badges when you went up a certain amount of stairs, and like you could repeat that again and again and again, and it would just kind of always like celebrate those kind of small wins that get you boosted and kind of like want you to do more. So it kind of gamifies it in that way. There isn't anything like particularly special about it, I don't think. It is just super simple, tracks what you're doing. You can put in like your sleep that you've had as well, so it can kind of track your wellness in that kind of sense as well. So yeah, that is Fitbit app. The next one I want to go on to is another fairly basic app, and that is the Zombies Run app. So essentially, this is again just a run tracker. So you set it to go, you do your run, you pause, you stop it, and then you look at your stats. So it will tell you kind of your pace, like where it gives you a little map and it tells you where was slightly faster, where was slower, etc, etc. But really, what I really enjoyed about this app is that it has this storytelling element. So you can choose that as you run, you kind of listen to the story that's going on. So every one you do, you can choose it to be like a certain length or a certain time, and then they'll adapt that piece, that chunk of the story, so that that chapter will be that long. So it might be that you're doing a really short run and so you'll just literally listen to the story the whole way through your run. But if you're doing a slightly larger run, you'll have gaps in kind of the audio which they can fill with your playlist. And I found that really helpful when I was beginning because it gave me something else to focus on as opposed to the run. You just focus on what was being said, what you were kind of doing in the story. And like the biggest thing about it is obviously it's called Zombies Run. So most of the time it's about this small group of people that are still trying to like avoid the zombies, and yeah, it sounds crazy but it kind of works. And as you go ahead and run, you'll get certain items and objects and they help you. There's like this little mini base in your app that you build up. They're kind of a bit like Farmville, things like that if you think back, where you just build up this little mini town. That kind of feature got a little bit redundant for me. I kind of had so many items and I didn't really see the benefit of it. I was like, it's not getting me anywhere. I'm just getting bigger and bigger and there's no reason why. So that was the only thing that I would take away from that. When I was using it, they would throw in an ad if you had it for free, and you could only do 2 of the missions every week, I believe it was. I very quickly upgraded it because I really liked it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it without ads, and then I can just run and do however many of them runs I want every week, which was really good. It also had plans in it, so you could do like a beginner to 5k, you could do a 5k to 10k, and I followed the 5k to 10k. I think quite possibly I also did the half marathon one, but I can't find it anywhere that I've done it, so maybe I didn't. And that will just take you through every single week and it will give you, this is your run, this is your run, this is your run. And then it will also kind of give you intervals, a different way of doing intervals. So they're a little bit more random, so more of a fartlek session. And you can choose, as you run, there'll be like a zombie horde that kind of like comes up behind you. And you can choose the speed that horde is before you start running. And obviously the faster you set the zombies, the faster you have to do that interval. And then you have to kind of run away from the zombies in order to like survive. If you don't manage to outrun them, you just drop an item. It's not the end of the the world. Obviously, the benefit is that it's giving you an incentive to actually run that faster little bit. And you could choose in the training plans like how wild you went with those interval sessions. So it didn't really matter as long as you were getting out. And I really enjoyed it. I did stop using it though. I don't really know why. I think I was just I was listening to more podcasts as I was running, and it was just getting really annoying, like interrupting the podcast with the audio from Zombies Run. So I did make a switch, and I don't have that app anymore, sadly. But yeah, it was a good entry level app to get me running and to get me going. And that's honestly all you kind of want in like a basic app, I think. So moving on to the more advanced app, these are kind of more running focused. So the other, well, Fitbit was a little bit more just kind of like general health orientated, whereas Zombies Run is still running. I think now they've integrated a little bit of home training, so like some body weight workouts and stuff, but I've not experienced that, so I can't tell that to you. The other two are, one's more running and one is basically anything. But they are more focused on you getting better at running. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Nike Run Club, which is a big app that I'm sure quite a lot of people have heard of. I, however, just didn't really get on with it. So honestly, my answers might seem a little bit like biased against this app, but I just didn't really enjoy the experience. So I'll talk you through what it does and kind of why I don't really get on with it. So the first thing that's really positive about Nike Run Club is that you can have guided runs. So you have all these different people talking you through your run. So they might give you mantras all the time, just being like, you can do it, like bigging yourself up. They also have training plans. So again, they'll talk you through the workouts, they'll get you going, they'll get you motivated. There's loads of different people you can choose from as well. So that's a really big selling point. As you're running, you can listen to all these famous people like cheering you on. You can also do it though without having that audio feedback, so you don't need to have someone constantly in your ear bigging you up, because I know that's not everyone's bag, which is fine. They also do have plans, so they can talk you through various plans. So they've got 5k, 10k, half marathon kind of plans that you can go through. Obviously I've not done one of those plans, so I don't have the experience as to like how good they are, but I'm sure they are almost definitely good because they've got Nike behind them. Up next, you can also do challenges. So you can sign up and try and do like a weekly 15k. I think they do a monthly challenge of either 50k or I think 200k, I think, every month. And they just give you a badge. One of the biggest things was that you could level up as well. So you would those challenges would help, but running was the thing that helped the most. So you'd kind of go up your like Nike level, and you'd have like different colours depending on how high you were. They also, obviously, because they're tracking your runs and stuff, they can track your speed, your time, your distance. You can then compare that with other runs you've done previously, so you can look them up and see how you did in comparison. One big thing though is that you can track your shoe mileage. So if you're a new runner, you're likely to be fine for a little while, but then probably after about half a year to a year, you might think you need new trainers. And loads of people have different answers on this. Some shoes last longer than others, so just have a little check like what their estimated mileage is. But having something that can track that shoe mileage will obviously alert you when you are going a little bit crazy in those shoes, and you should probably think about getting some new ones. When you set a run in the Nike Plus, I keep saying Nike Plus, I think it used to be called that. So in the Nike Run Club, you can set when you start a run, you can set a goal for that run, which I think is actually pretty unique in that sense. So you can set the goal as to be whether you want to do a certain amount of time, so whether you want to run for half an hour, whether you want to run 5k, or you can also do speed. I'm not too sure how that one works. So if you know how that one works, put it down in the comments so I can learn up how that actually works. I don't know whether it's like average speed or if you just want to hit that speed. Who knows? Either way, that's pretty good in terms of that. The main reason why I didn't really get on with it is because it just felt like it was like marketing ploy. So I think of the 4 tabs you have at the bottom, 2 of them are trying to sell you Nike like running stuff. And I don't really get on with that kind of selling mentality. Like if I'm running, I have the kit. I don't really want to be spending, obviously when I need to replace it, I'll try and look for something, but I don't really want that in my everyday app that I go to when I'm running. And that's generally the main reason. The other reason is it just felt kind of like very individual, maybe because none of my like friends are on that app, but you couldn't really see other people's runs or things like that. Personally, I didn't really like that one, but maybe you do. So the second one that's also more advanced there is good for new runners, and that's Strava. This is a big one in quite a few different sporting, so it's big in cycling, it's big in running as well. And I think it's getting bigger in other kind of sports as well, because you can track literally anything. Even if you have to start by tracking it as something else, but then when you get into the edit menu, there are so many different sports to choose from. I think there's like skiing, maybe there's diving, I don't know. Anyway, lots of different things. And the good thing about Strava is that it's almost like a social media for your running. So you can go out and you kind of like post your run, and then everyone that is following you can see that run. Obviously they can also see your pace. So maybe if you're a little bit kind of like wary of your pace at the time, you don't have to share it. You can change the settings so that your activities come through as private, and then no one else sees them but you. But obviously in that sense you can still see others, so you can still feel part of it even if you're not posting things publicly because you don't want to. I think that's a really important aspect of, and also because if you are training close to home, you might not want everyone to see your address or like know what door is yours. And they have like a nice little privacy zone that you can set up around a certain point. The next reason why I kind of prefer this app over the others now is that I can create routes on it, so I can explore kind of like the local area and I can make route within the app which you can then follow, which is actually a really good point to this app, because it makes you feel a little bit safer if you're following a route. I found that the navigation isn't amazing when it comes to it, but it is alright. And the best thing to do is just to get your phone out and see if you're still on the line. Obviously if you're not on the line, you've gone wrong somewhere and you should try to go back onto the line. In the same sense that when you're making those routes, you can have a look at areas that have been used a little bit more. So areas that are like good for runners are likely to have a lot of segments in them, and these are just strips of the road, they're not physical, where people have like tried to beat a record. So it might be there's like a 300-meter stretch nearby that people love just kind of sprinting down and seeing how fast they can go. And then you can compare your stats to the leaderboard, other people around you, people you know, so people you follow. So you can differentiate that way. It also can go into different age groups and genders and different things like that. So stats if you're interested. So very numbers focused if you're going into the stats though. So don't go into stats unless you know what you're looking at. If not, it will just go whoosh and you'll be like, oh no. On top of that, they also do challenges. So just like the Nike Run Club, they have monthly challenges, sometimes they have weekly challenges, and these are now getting broader in what ones you can actually do. So originally it was just kind of like a basic running and a basic cycling challenge, but now they've got all sorts of challenges. So there's normally like a walking goal for the month. There's also lots of different bits and bobs. So like just getting moving is normally one as well, which obviously is quite motivating for some people. There's no kind of leveling up aspect to it, apart from it does track your kind of like monthly and weekly totals. So you can try and like do it that way. So I have a premium account, so I can set a weekly goal as well. Tries to like get me going that way. So I've got to try and hit that number every week. I don't always do it. Most of the time I just don't really pay attention to it, but it is really useful. So that is my 4 top apps for when you're starting out running. I started initially with the Fitbit app. Actually, did I? I think I did a couple of runs on the Strava app to start off with. Then I moved to Fitbit, then I had Zombies Run, and then I dabbled a tiny bit in Nike Run Club before going back to Strava. And the whole time is, if you're tracking on one of them, it's very likely that you can send your data to another one as well. So you can connect them in a way that it just kind of interacts with each other. So even if you're just recording on Strava, you're very likely to be able to push that across to another app. So I would normally run it on Zombies Run, and then that would push to Strava and Nike Run Club, so they could also have my data, so I could also be leveling up on them as well. Not that there's a leveling up on Strava, but that was really helpful, and it gives you kind of like a good mix of things to look for when you're looking for an app. If you've got any experience with any other apps, put them down below, and let's see how many people we can help with our newbie running app.